I'm going to take you through the hang power snatch, an Olympic weightlifting derivative that you can use for your combat sports training. I'm going to cover all the technical details, all the small nuances that you need to know to do this well, and then run through the what, when, why, and how to use it. Now I'm going to start with why the hang power snatch over other Olympic weightlifting derivatives or variations. You don't have to do it over another variation, you can use it at the same time. Now, on the channel, I've done the muscle snatch before as a variation. I've got weightlifting complexes as well. This can be part of a weightlifting complex, but there are many other use cases for it. This is where I see the hang power snatch variation being useful. First one is, for example, if you can't do the front rack position for power cleans or hang power cleans, the snatch variation can be easier, especially on the wrists and elbows if you have mobility problems there. I've found that athletes tend to have less shoulder pain or less shoulder problems using the snatch variations versus the clean variations. So just bear that in mind. If you have funky shoulders, the wider grip tends to make that feel a little better. The reason you go from the hang, you don't have to, you can go from the floor too as another variation, but the reason you typically go from the hang is, one, you see the fastest speeds from above the knee through the rest of the lift in elite weightlifters. So coaches tend to program from the hang more often because that is where peak power and peak speed is seen. But I think more importantly is, once you remove the bottom portion of the lift, there's just less things to go wrong, because once you get that first pull off the floor a little off, the rest of the lift suffers. If you remove that, you can just focus on one thing, and that is that hang position, and then be able to complete the lift from there. So obviously we have advantages using Olympic weightlifting derivatives. I find they're very useful for grappling sports, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, etc., where you have to manipulate another human being. And of course MMA, we also have a grappling component. For strikers, I think it's more of a personal preference if you're going to do them or not. You don't have to. I think you have better options with lightly loaded jumps, throws, and plyometrics. Obviously, you're going to use those with grapplers and MMA athletes too, but I think this has just better carryover to those martial arts versus striking arts. So just bear that in mind. So let's run through how to do the hang power snatch. I'm going to have some footage rolling over the top of me doing some, but I'm also going to take you through the very technical aspects of doing this lift properly. And the first part is actually finding your snatch grip width. And you have rings on your barbell where you can use to measure your grip, but typically you want the bar, once you're up with the big chest, elbows pointing out, you want the bar to sit just above your pubic bone and just below the waistband of your shorts. I'm going to have it in this position here, big chest, elbows out, and it's going to sit just below my shorts waistband and just above my pubic bone. That is the perfect snatch grip width. In terms of the actual grip itself, you can use straps, or if you're not using straps, you have a hook grip, and this is how you're going to hook grip. So over the bar, the thumb goes around like this, and then the fingers go over the thumb. That's how you're going to lock the bar in place, and it's going to feel much more comfortable in the snatch grip because you're able to grip with your pinky and ring finger, but this stops the bar rolling. If you're trying to do it just a normal overhand grip, you're not going to enjoy doing this lift. So hook grip, it'll take some time to get used to. If you don't want to get used to it, you can use straps for this variation. It's going to help if you're doing, for example, if you're doing triples or even fives to some extent. Straps are typically a better option from the hang position. So first things first, I'm going to show you the setup. And I'm going to have side by side here exactly what not to do and what to do. And a lot of people get mixed up where they think the hang position is a Romanian deadlift. It is not a Romanian deadlift. Even though it looks the same, there's a small nuance that will make or break the success of this lift, and that is it. So I'll show you side by side, where one shows the hips going back in a Romanian deadlift where the weight's on the heels, and the other one I'm staying over the bar and I'm centered with my weight in the middle of my feet, and the bar goes essentially straight down, so I'm able to use my legs. If you push your hips back into that Romanian deadlift position, you're going to struggle to push with your legs to get the bar vertical. The problem is, as soon as you push your hips back, the only way to propel and accelerate the bar is to push your hips forward. And as soon as you start pushing your hips forward, that's when you bump the bar and it swings. And that's what we don't want. We want a vertical bar path. And to get a vertical bar path, we have to push our legs straight up. So in some of the videos, you've probably seen some of the lifts there, but let's just run through it. So once we're in our hang position, you're always starting from the top down. You're gonna push with your legs to get into an upright position. It's important that, again, we're not using our back to pull up like a deadlift. We're not trying to thrust our hips forward here to get into that position. We're pushing with the legs straight up and the shoulders rise. And that is our position, our power position essentially from here, that we can really explode up. Now, once we get into that position, all we're doing is propelling up onto our toes, triple extending our hips, knees, and ankles, and pulling the bar straight up. It's why we have our elbows out with our big chest, so the bar can do this. Essentially like an upright row. And it should come straight up our chest, turn over overhead. And you'll see some of that in the clips there. Importantly, if you're learning this exercise, or even if you're not learning, pause at the knee in the hang position before you go. You'll see a lot of videos of people when they're doing hangs, they quickly rush down and come back up. If you don't know the positions, it will not work. You need to start by getting into position, pausing, and then coming up and turning over into that catch position. Now, when we're getting into the catch position, you're not just pulling the bar into position or letting it float and land in that catch. You need to be active throughout that entire range of motion. So as soon as I get into that extended position, I'm pulling the bar up, but I'm also pulling myself under, and my feet are moving, as you'll see in a lot of the videos, coming up, and I'm pulling myself under the bar. And that action is how you're going to finish the hang power snatch properly. It's a lot of small details that take some time, but as long as you're finding that initial position and you're pushing with your legs, you'll find you'll get most of it right. And as long as the bar's not swinging around, you're gonna do well. Because as soon as it starts swinging, as it gets heavier, you're gonna lose it in front, or it's gonna swing all the way around over your head, which becomes obviously a big problem too. It's gonna limit the loads you can lift. So where in the program do these fit? Typically, Olympic lifts I would fit as your full body power exercise. It could be after your normal maybe general warm up, it can either be your very first exercise in the program, or it can come after your jumps, throws, plyometric style training. So you'll do your unloaded work first and then you'll go into something like this. Or you can use this as your first exercise in a complex. So you might do hang power snatch and you can superset that with some kind of jump variation or plyometric variation. Those are your different options. And there, typically you're looking at doing from anywhere from 2 to 5 sets of anywhere from 1 to 3 reps typically. And you're gonna do these essentially, most of the time, as heavy as your technique allows, or a little lighter for more speed. If you struggle to get the entire lift, or maybe you have injuries that stop you getting the bar overhead without pain, maybe this technique just isn't there, you don't have to do the full hang power snatch. You don't have to get the bar overhead. You can do the high pull variation, where we're going hang up and then just pulling this, which I'll take you through a separate video on that, because it's probably one of my favorite exercises for building the physique, but also for combat athletes, especially grapplers in MMA, being in that position. Very similar to when you're performing mat routine when the hips are forward and you're on your toes. Kind of, again, still some similarities, but being able to get the hips and really pull the bar up, that is where I see real good value there too. So give this a try. Let me know how it goes down in the comments. And if there's any more lifts you want me to break down, I'll run through some more of the Olympic weightlifting variations for you, but if there's any more, let me know down there and I'll see you in the next video.